Hello.
Oh my God. You have a great podcast voice.
Thank you.
This is crazy. Hi, this is Once to Watch Chef's Choice. I'm Abby Kenna, and I'm joined by Sedona.
Hello, hello.
How are you? We've been talking for 20 minutes now.
Yeah. I just stepped into the studio and had a nice drink of water.
You really do have a great podcasting voice. That's like super annoying.
Thank you. It's just how I am.
I'm just perfect, actually.
I'm just naturally meant to be on your show.
Right? Of course. I have a story to tell. This was preemptively exposed by my coworkers because I somehow always like have these weird backstories with artists that we have on here. I saw you in 2018 open for Charlie Berg in
my God.
a basement, and I so didn't put it together until later because your username used to be Champagne Poopy on Instagram.
Oh my God, you really do know the old me.
And like, I don't know why I associated Champagne Poopy with you more than Sedona, but then it all clicked and I got so fucking pumped.
Wow.
And I have to show you the video of you that I put on my story.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
Because it's just such a different version of who you are.
Wow. I love that dress. I still have that dress.
It's so good.
That was amazing. I think that was one of my first shows ever.
I think it was. I remember you saying that at the show. I had to have my father come with me to that because I was too young to get into the venue.
Wow.
I made him drive me into New York City.
From Jersey?
From Jersey.
Well, thanks for showing up.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anyways, yes, I'm so happy that you're here and you've moved from New York to LA. You're a reborn Valley girl.
Yes, I'm back in my element.
In your element. Well, this is Chef's Choice. We're gonna feast a little bit on the tunes of Sedona.
Nice.
And I want to know, if someone had never heard your music before, what would be the appetizer to you? What's the first bite of your music?
I have a pretty wide...
You've got a spectrum of sounds going on.
The palette is vast, and I think that if I wanted someone to take a bite now, I would want them to listen to Touch and Go.
Okay, I love that song.
Just a feeling that I can't let go of. Got you dreaming about me with my clothes off. Tell me what you're scared of. Do you trust me? You're kissing off my makeup.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of where I'm headed sonically and emotionally with my music. I want it to feel more playful. I think there's always been a sort of playful element to my music because that's just who I am as a person. But Touch and Go for me, production-wise and just sort of tone, I think matches where I'm moving and where I want to go.
Right. It's funny that you say that too, about how you just as a person are playful, because even though there is like different sort of genre influences throughout your music, I feel like the essence of you is very clear and consistent throughout it, and Touch and Go is just like so fun. And I was so excited when I heard that one. It felt like a peak sort of that we reached, and like just your personality coming out in the music.
Thank you. Yeah, that song was something I wrote years ago, and then I sort of found it in a vault of voice memos.
Love that.
And then when I re-met the song, I felt like it was exactly what I needed in the moment to sort of explore where I'm headed with my music. And once I put it out, it seemed to resonate with everyone who's been listening for a long time. So
Right.
yeah.
Did you change anything about the song after you revisited or re-met it?
No, honestly, I had the whole thing pretty much sketched out with a guitar, and I had written it in New York a few years back with my friend Florio.
Okay.
And then I brought it to my friend Cairo, who I just did my whole record with, and
awesome.
He produced it out and we recorded it here because I'm not in New York anymore. So it sort of had these two very pivotal people that I've been working with for years bring it to the finish line with me. So that was fun.
That's awesome. Do you usually, like, is that the collaboration sort of trio that you've been writing with for a while, or at least working with?
Florio, when I was living in New York, was someone I was primarily writing songs with, and he's produced a bunch of my music.
Awesome.
He did a ton of the music on my first EP Rearview Angel. And then Cairo's sort of been my LA anchor.
Right.
And we both moved to LA around the same time. I knew him in New York,
Okay.
but we hadn't really worked together in the capacity we're working now.
Yeah.
And he did my whole record with me, and we meet up every week just to jam or work on something Sedona related. He's played live with me, and he's become sort of my newest member of the team.
Yeah.
And he's awesome.
Very steady friend.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love how you have like your bi-coastal like buddies in arms.
Oh yeah, the Sedona multiverse is full of so many different characters from around the world.
No, I love it. It's so good.
I love it too. I'm so lucky.
Well, tell me the story of Touch and Go. How did the song come about? I guess maybe it means something different to you now than it did then.
Yeah, Touch and Go was sort of a tongue-in-cheek way of looking at one-night stands. A lot of people tend to frown upon them or look back at them with dismay.
Yeah.
And I sort of wanted to change the viewpoint on them.
Yeah.
Just because it's, everything's about how you perceive it and the attitude you have towards it. So I think Touch and Go was my attempt at, celebrating casual moments. And
You do not have to be modest on here.
yeah,
You're choosing your words so carefully.
this is my first podcast. So I think Touch and Go is just me kind of joking about how serious dating can feel and how
Yes.
serious people take themselves when actually pretty much everything ends up as a joke. So
Yes.
Touch and Go is just supposed to make fun of ourselves and everyone around us. So
I love that, and I think that's probably why I resonated with it so much. I always warn my parents, I'm like, I know you listen to this podcast, but like maybe there's some episodes don't listen to. But I think that like the casualness of like intimacy and love and attraction and affection is so not talked about enough. And I love when we can have a playful moment, especially with music, because love is such like a heavy theme that we're exploring at all times, which is important too.
yeah, I also think for me as a hopeless romantic, I think a lot of my songs are about loss or the heaviness that comes with feeling deeply about someone.
Like the yearning and
the
stuff.
yearning and the heartbreak. But I think Touch and Go was sort of like a bit of a jab back at myself,
Which is great. I mean, the best thing I've ever gotten from dating apps is good stories. So like I feel like this is such a good representation of that. And I mean, I'm in my like very early 20s, and I feel like it's such an anthem for where I am right now. And I love it.
I wrote it in my early 20s and it still holds up. So
Okay, great. I have a lot to look forward to in life. That is a great track to lead us into Sedona. And now you have an album coming out, your debut album.
there is said to be an album.
Do we know the name of it? Is that out in the world?
Yeah, I mean, let's put it out right now.
Okay.
It's called Getting Into Heaven.
Fuck yeah, it is.
And there is not a release date yet, but there soon will be.
yeah.
And yeah, first record of many. So 2024 is going to be the year that you get to hear it.
I'm so excited. Okay, so Getting Into Heaven, what does that mean to us? What is this era we're stepping into?
Getting into heaven, I'm still sort of figuring it out every day as the songs reach the finish line with mixing and we move to mastering and art and all that jazz. But I think for me, getting into heaven has a couple different meanings, one of which is I'm getting into heaven, I'm really getting into Seinfeld. I'm just watching it every night before I go to bed. So in that sense, getting into heaven is...
I'm in my heaven era.
Yeah, I'm in my heaven era. I'm in my choosing me era and in my, prioritizing myself and my own creative endeavors above all era.
Yeah.
And I think getting into heaven also means just finding peace within my own world, whether that's creatively or personally,
Right.
and really learning what that looks like, because it's really easy to, go along with the whole positive thinking
Yes.
Uh,
I think
lifestyle in LA, but I think it's much
Yeah.
harder to actually achieve if all you're doing is, reading self-help books and getting Air One smoothies, which
oh my God.
I'm also a victim to.
I am a
but
victim. There's one within walking distance of my house, and it has me in a chokehold. But no, I think toxic positivity is even more harmful a lot of the times than just being like jaded and negative, because it feels like escapism, at least for me, a lot of the time, because I will tend to put up a front of like, yes, I'm putting myself first and I'm in my heaven era, but I'm actually not doing anything actively to like balance out my life. And I don't know, I think it's something we all struggle with and we don't talk about it, especially in LA where like everyone looks perfect and has perfect friends and has it all figured out from the outside. But maybe that's just me because I just
LA
got here.
is a strange place. I think you're definitely picking up on some real things, but I think with that comes, a sense of satire and sort of grotesque humor that's needed, which is how I tend to live my life. I feel like I'm a nihilist with a really dark sense of humor, but maybe that's how I'm able to be so light on my feet and, welcoming and have these pop songs that sort of sing otherwise. And
Right.
yeah, I'm really excited about the record. I also think that these songs have had such different lives and they're all coming together in the way that I think chapters of someone's life would. And so it almost feels like a culmination of how I've existed and
Yeah.
how I've sort of grown as a songwriter and as a woman and as a, creature of the universe.
Yeah, a
so
human being.
a human being. Can you believe it?
I don't know. So are they all songs from different like actual time periods of your life, or did you write them specifically for this album?
They're all different. Some of them came about maybe 4 years ago, and then there's some of them that came about in the last 10, 12 months.
Wow.
So they
that's
really do
recent.
span my little songwriting life so far.
Yeah. I love hearing that about an album and kind of selfishly trying to like piece them into different eras of your music too, which is probably not what you want us to do.
You can do whatever you want. I feel like
You're like, once it's out of my hands, like you take it.
yeah, I think so much of being an artist today is about oversharing. And I just don't feel the need to do that. I think that what makes art personal is someone's ability to interpret it themselves. So I try not to say too much about, what I was going through during a song or how I want you to think of the song, because ultimately that's the listener's privilege and, experience to see it how they will and, soak it in how they're supposed to.
Right. Okay. That's really interesting to go into this album listening. What would you say is a good song to sort of be the entree, the meat of this album era?
I think for me, I'm toying between saying a song that I've put out this year and toying between a song that's on the record.
You can say both.
I'll say both. Yeah, I think that the meat of my music is right now the song that I just released called No Man's Land.
Yeah.
Looked outside my window, pretty as can be. First words that you said to me, but they don't mean a thing here in no man's land. I'm in no man's land.
It's almost the most different from anything I've put out
Yeah.
because it's the most stripped, and it's sort of how my songs start, with a
Okay.
guitar and a vocal usually. And I tend to write my music with no music, so it's just a top line melody and lyrics,
Okay.
and then everything forms around that. So that's how No Man's Land started, and that's how most of my songs start.
wow. So not even like playing guitar as you're coming up with the top line.
No, it's a cappella.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
Yeah, it's a cool process, and it's fun for my producers and my, my collaborators, because they get to sort of write things in reverse, I guess, because a lot of people come up with a rhythm or
Right.
a guitar line first, but No Man's Land was true to my process
Yeah.
at its core. So it was a melody and a lyric, and I brought it to my friend and producer Daniel Che, and we cooked it up together with his amazing guitar lines. And so that song to me feels like the heart of Sedona, where it always was and where it is now. Hasn't changed much because it's always been really vocally focused.
Yes.
But yeah, it's cool to hear everyone's reaction to that song because it is so different. My closest friends are like, this is my favorite one. I'm crying listening to it.
Oh.
And I feel like it's because you can really hear me in it.
That it must feel so gratifying to like have people be able to actually hear like a sonic version of yourself.
I don't know if I feel gratified by my music yet. I think
we're on that journey.
I still don't know it well, and we're still sort of trying to understand each other. But I think that
Yeah.
as I get older and as I learn to accept, who I am as a creator and how I create things, I'll learn to get along more with listening to myself and, accepting
Yeah.
compliments and those types of things.
Honestly, no, thank you for like shooting that down because I mean, I write music too and I'm like kind of just starting the journey and it's so weird, like the separation of self that you can feel between your song that you literally wrote, like is literally a product of you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I don't actually know her. I'm proud of her sometimes. Do I want to be associated? No, question mark. But it's great to see, like, from my perspective, you are so yourself. And I've seen you, like, grow into the artist that you are now. But it's good to know that, like, we're always going to be on the journey.
Thank you. That's really cool. Yeah. I think there is some sort of disconnect for me between me and my art, and I think that I almost prefer it that way,
Yeah.
just because it's sort of these tectonic plates. It's like me as a person who wakes up and like goes to the bathroom and feeds my cat, and then there's like me, the songwriter and the tortured artist who's constantly trying to turn everything into a story.
Yeah.
And I think it's nice to have both, but I also think that if I fully embodied the artist all the time, I think I'd lose sight of how to observe.
Right. It would be
And-
like making a costume of yourself almost.
Yeah, I think you have to learn how to switch on and off between creating and existing, because
Right.
so much of creating comes from simply existing. And I think a lot of people generate fronts and put on masks
Yeah.
in order to feel validated in their art. But for me, I'm an open book, which comes with its own set of problems. But I think that's just how
Yeah.
I was raised and how I've always been. I've always been a bit quirky and maybe too honest. But I think that's,
I don't think that's a bad thing.
yeah, it's not a bad thing. It's just it's a risky thing. It's a risky way to live, and I think it's something that I've come to terms with and I've learned to embrace. But it's fun with songwriting because you really get
Absolutely.
to write about some kooky stuff.
I would rather risk like turning away people that aren't going to accept me right off the bat anyways. Like I'd rather them not have to get to know the scandalous parts of me. Like just here they are, actually.
Yeah, as I've gotten to know myself better, I think that something I've learned is I'd much rather encounter rejection than regret.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly putting myself out there. I'm constantly, diving headfirst in all sorts of deep waters. But I think
Yeah.
that's just how I get to know myself better, which has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, going back to No Man's Land, I feel like that's probably a good representation of the music that inspired you, if it is so close to yourself. I want to know all about the music you grew up on and, what made you who you are.
Oh, yeah. I listen to a lot of music, as I'm sure we all do. And I think, I've been getting more into podcasts because
Yes.
I'm sick of music.
Yeah.
But Some music that's never gotten old would include my number one, Gwen Stefani.
Oh, I so see that for you.
I think number two would be Stevie Nicks or Patrice Rushen.
Okay.
I listened to a lot of AC/DC growing up, Beach Boys, Carlos Santana. It's one of my
Hell
mom's
yeah.
favorites. My mom's an amazing songwriter,
Really?
and I grew up listening to her songs. And actually, when I first started Sedona, and at the show you were at in 2018, I
weird.
sang her songs. I didn't
Shut
even
up.
have songs that I was confident enough to perform. Call Me Up was the one song.
Yes.
The video you have is me singing Call Me Up.
Yes.
But I was singing her music, and that's been amazing for me because she's an amazing songwriter who never really saw the full scope of her career come to fruition. So when I started singing, she had all these songs that she'd been singing to me since I was a kid.
Wow.
And I asked her, can I please sing these? And she was so excited, and she still is about it all. And
That's great.
yeah, so I grew up singing and listening to her music a lot. And who else do I love? I love Dolly Parton. I love Lou Reed. I love Missing Persons, a band I'm
Okay.
obsessed with. Who else is there? The Steve Miller Band, the Birds.
This is great. These are like the bands I learned to play music on.
Oh
This is
my
so
God.
good.
See, if I could play music, I would have learned those too.
What do you mean?
I'm everything's by ear. So I never had like a real music lesson or vocal lesson. So
Sometimes I'm very grateful for the education I had in music. Like I went to college for music,
amazing.
but I sometimes wish I knew less about what was going on because I'll be, writing a guitar riff or getting stuck on a melody and I'm like thinking about the intervals and the chord progressions, and I just wish it were so much less technical sometimes, which is, I don't know, like grass is always greener. But I do miss being like 14 and not knowing how to play guitar and coming up with crazy shit just because it all sounded bad till you landed on something good.
Of course, that's life. And I think
Yeah.
for me, I mean, I'm having rehearsals this week with
Yeah.
my band. We're going on tour.
I know, I'm so
I'm
excited.
so excited. And it's funny when I'm giving feedback in rehearsals and I'm trying to explain a part in the second verse where the rhythm is different. I
Right.
can't talk in letters or chords or, the G is supposed to be an A. I just sort of
Yeah.
say, okay, so for this part, this is the rhythm. And then I sing it. And
Perfect.
It's a bit, premature, but I think it's
DIY.
it's easier to understand in some ways. So
Yeah.
I think it's honestly helped me as a songwriter because I live in my gut and I don't really live in any other place because I don't know what that would even look like. But I have been playing more piano this year. I
Nice.
definitely want to get into the theory world a little more. So I'm excited.
God, I can give you my old textbooks if you want.
Yeah.
My high school workbooks. God. Well, I love the Americana and like the sort of folky cowboy grungy kind
Yeah.
of. There's a bit of an edge
For sure.
to, yeah, No Man's Land. I also was going back through all of your music and I saw that you've been featured on like a bunch of TV shows as well. Your music. I want to hear about that.
Yeah, I think that the songs have done well in that world just because
Yeah.
a lot of my stories are universal enough to be put into other people's stories. And I think that
Yeah.
I've been a huge fan of film and TV forever. I studied film and I actually wanted to be a director in college.
Okay, Lore.
Yeah, a little bit of that. And then it was really cool to see my songs getting picked up in shows
Yeah.
because that's also something I wanted to do. Aside from directing, I wanted to be a music supervisor for a while. And I actually interned for Randall Poster in New York, and working with him
Alright.
was amazing. And that was definitely something I had a lot of interest in. And I'm still able to sort of do that in my new corner of songwriting.
Yeah, I mean, your visuals are also beautiful. So it's
Thank
cool
you.
to know now that you have like the eye for film and TV.
Yeah, it's a fun world to live in. And I think for me, writing is, it's able to bleed into so many different areas. And I think that's why music was what I chose, or what chose me, whatever it was, because it can be involved in film and TV.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe I'll get in that world one day. But for now, I'm just trying to finish my first record.
My very first record.
Yeah.
So you're going on tour. You're going all the way across country, yeah?
Not exactly.
Okay.
We're doing 3 West Coast shows, flying
Right.
east, and then doing 3 East Coast. So it's sort of like a mini coast to coast tour.
You're still making the rounds.
Yeah, no, we're making the rounds to the cities that I've been really excited to revisit again.
Yeah.
And I haven't done much touring in general, but this is my first headline tour, and
That's
yeah,
so exciting.
I'm thrilled. We have the last rehearsal tonight.
Oh my God.
Last night we made espresso martinis and stayed up really late. So
Great. Love
Tonight
that
will
for
be
you.
calmer.
That's good. When you leave Friday, or that's the LA show?
Yeah, LA show's Friday, and then we head to San Francisco on Saturday, and then fly from SF to New York. We hit Philly, we hit DC, and then
All
I'm
the
back
important
before you know
spots.
it.
Great. And we will miss you, of course. So I guess maybe a good dessert track is a song that you're excited to play on tour as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think the song that I'm most excited to play on tour isn't my own song. It's a cover.
Really? Okay.
It's a cover by The Pretenders, and it's called I Go to Sleep.
Okay.
It's a song that I love singing, and I don't want to say much more because I want people who come to the shows to try and, decipher why I chose it.
Yeah,
but
we
I
shan't
think,
spoil it.
yeah, I think it fits with my world of music, and it's just such a beautifully sung song, and I've always wanted to cover it. I tend to cover songs that I don't think a ton of people our age know.
That's an interesting way to go about it.
Yeah, a lot of people go for big songs where everyone will sing along, and I've done that before too. I've done, Dreams by Fleetwood Mac and Angel by Madonna, but
Yeah.
I think for me, I like to uncover songs that I think deserve more recognition,
Great.
and that song feels like that to me. I tend to only listen to music of yesteryear. I'm not as up to speed with everything that's coming out right now, so
Really?
this song to me is something I listen to all the time.
Right. That's great. I mean, I do think it's kind of interesting when you see someone do a cover and you're not really sure if it's their song or a cover because you don't know it.
Yeah.
And then when you go and listen to the original version, you're like, oh, wow, they actually truly made it their own. And now you get to learn the new original one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love doing that. I love, even at my show last year, we did a Divinals cover of I Touch Myself, and
Oh, great.
everyone sort of, after the show, came up to me and said, I love your Touch Myself song. And I said, that's not my song, but it also just depends on the age of who's talking to me, because
Totally.
my, friends in their 30s know that song, but my friends in their early 20s don't. So it's all good. I just love playing old songs, and I think that I'm excited about the Pretenders cover because she's amazing.
Very, very amazing. Yes. So for our second dessert, because you can always have seconds.
Yeah.
Duh. I want to know
Sweet tooth.
a track off the album that we haven't heard yet, but will soon, that you're especially excited about.
Oh, what song?
Is
There's so
Getting
many.
Into Heaven a lyric pull, or is that just completely not from the album?
Completely nothing on the album anywhere says Getting Into Heaven.
Okay, cool.
I think a song off the album I'm excited about that's coming to mind is a song called Underneath. And it's a song that the reason it's coming into my head, to be honest, is because it's the last one that I think's that's going to get mixed. It's just taking the longest.
Right.
Because
So it's weighing on your chest a little bit.
yeah, I'm like, oh, I have to send those notes later. So
Valid.
That's on my mind. I really feel a deep connection to all the songs on the record in different ways, but That one is, I think, the one I wrote the most recently in the
Okay.
last year. And it's also the one that'll get finished last.
Mm.
So that's the one that's on my brain right now.
What can you tell us about that song? What's Underneath all about?
Well,
Oh
what is
God.
you'll hear it and you'll know. I think it's about sort of how dreams come out in your day-to-day life without you knowing it, and sort of how your subconscious has a lot of power and secret kind of control over how you behave and how you interact with the world.
That's such a cool concept.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
I am so curious to hear how you've wrapped that up into a song. That's so great. Beautiful. Okay, well, I have a couple of last questions.
Yeah.
I have a little. This is one of our first podcasts of the year. And one of my New Year's resolutions is to ask people just the worst and weirdest questions that I can think of.
I love that. Go for it.
Yes. So first of all, I want to know, if your music was a candle, what scent would it be?
That's amazing.
This is a good one for you.
I feel I love candles, and I have a song called Candles that's not on this record. But if my music were a candle, what scent would it be?
You said that in your best podcaster voice. I'm scared of what
It's
you're
fun to
thinking
think
of.
I'm thinking of like weird things like chocolate milk and refried beans because I'm a little hungry. But I think that if my music, not my appetite, were a candle, it would be some sort of mixture between maybe like a warm sandalwood or patchouli smell mixed in with some lavender and a bit of like Juicy Couture high school perfume.
Yeah, I was thinking like if you lit an early 2000s nightclub on fire, like that is what your candle would be.
Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah. Light the damn club on fire and
Right.
think of me.
That's actually what I was planning to do, yeah, in your absence. God. Okay, my other question is, what's your favorite sound right now? What sound are you into?
What sound I'm into? I'm into the sound of my kitten, my new little kitten,
Stop.
Toonie, that we found at a construction site near our house. I'm obsessed with her little purring, and she's kind of sick. She has a respiratory infection, so
Poor thing.
when she purrs, you can kind of hear this congested noise in the back. And she sneezes a lot, and she sneezes when she purrs, and she kind of has like a little like.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's really cute. She doesn't understand how cute she is, and I love her purr. She climbs up on me every night and just falls asleep on my neck.
Stop
And
it.
I love her purr. Honestly, it's hard to sleep with a cat on your neck, so I do have to push her off, which is
Yeah.
horrifying and devastating for me because I'm like, you love me and I'm rejecting you.
Yeah.
But that's just how
like
it goes,
abandoning
right?
a child every night.
I push her off and she like nuzzles up next to me, but it's hard to like have that on you while you're trying to drift off. So
Yes.
But I love her. I love you, Toonie. If you're watching,
Toonie,
Mama loves
if you
you.
tuned in. And my very last, most important question, and this will be interesting for you because you said you listen to mostly yesteryear's music.
Yeah.
But I want to know who your ones to watch are. Who should we be listening to?
Oh my gosh.
That you're listening to.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, as I say that, I think that I want you to listen to my drummer Bailey has an amazing band called Fantasy of an Achy Breaky Heart, and
Wow.
they're
That's
amazing.
so great.
They're amazing. They produced and wrote on my album and are playing on my album.
Awesome.
I'm really loving everything they make. And who else? I would say my mom. My mom is working on putting
Oh my
her
God.
songs out from the 80s. I'm going to help her do it. I don't know if we're going to reissue old recordings or if I'm going to be singing them.
Wow.
But that day will come. Her project was called Marley Black. There's nothing on the internet, so maybe I should say someone who is online.
Yeah, but we'll be watching.
Yeah, you'll
For
be
when it
watching out
happens.
for her. And I think I would also give a shout out to my good friend Marcy.
Okay.
And her music's amazing. She's in the band Tops, and she's been
Okay.
releasing solo music for the last year or so. And she's one of my favorite contemporary artists right now. So
I love that.
check her out. If you like Sedona, you'll love Marcy.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Well, thanks so much for being here. I'm so excited to listen to the full album and, get into heaven.
It's tough to get in, but I'll see what I can do.
Harder to get out.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, of course.